Dan in the Philippines, Manfred in Montana, David in Texas, Terry in Indiana, Jock in California. We're going to your calls here in just a few minutes. We're about 15 minutes away from huge news blitzes, tons of key news I'm going to cover until the end of the show, coming up on a host of issues starting in the next segment. Final segment with Robert Gaylon Ross. Time has really gone by fast with him. I want to go to your calls here in just a moment. But we were getting into Obama becoming the first president to be the head of the UN Security Council. No president's ever done that because the Constitution states they can't be part of other government bodies or boards and make decisions for the U.S. without Congress's approval. And it wasn't just us saying this is unprecedented. AP and Reuters in the last week had all these weird statements about sealing our new closeness with the UN and global governance and the new Bank of the World. I mean, this is really happening.
Yeah, no question about it. And that's part of their overall plan. It's all very carefully orchestrated. And they think there's nothing we can do about it. But all you got to do is think about how many people showed up in Washington this last weekend.
But they're being led by loyal opposition, and that's the plan, is to have a guy that supported the banker bailout, a guy that supported the Patriot Act, Glenn Beck, lead them. That's the problem.
Yeah, that we need to have someone leading the crowd that has no agenda except to...
But it does show, you're right, people are waking up. I mean, Greenspan's in the news today, Bloomberg whining, saying he thinks Congress is going to take the Fed over. So they're definitely not arrogant anymore, though. We're finally identifying who the real power structure are.
That's right. And Ron Paul is exactly right. He's talking about auditing the Fed, but we really need to nationalize the Fed.
Well, he says that if we can get the audit, then we can get the nationalization. Yeah. He says they're so criminal, and he's called for criminal investigations here, that it's step one. Right. It'll be hard to just abolish them up front, but the Fed has said, if you audit us, you might as well abolish us.
Well, we really need something like the Fed in order to manage our money system within the United States.
To certainly get out of it, yeah.
Right. But we need to own the Fed.
And have it be transparent.
That's right. Well, and if we own it, then all the transparency and that sort of thing.
Well, Paul's got a von Mises degree, and he's a doctorate in economics and a medical doctor, and I respect him. And he likes sound money. And if we'd have stayed on silver and gold, they couldn't have done what they've done. But now we're in this global fiat system. I look at the other models of using fiat to empower us. If it was done properly and openly, it could be a great system.
Yeah, but you'd have to really have a high value of gold if we, say, went to the gold standard, because the federal debt is something between $75 and $100 trillion.
So it'd have to be $1 million an ounce.
That's right. So there's not enough. If you use it at today's price, there's not enough gold out there to cover all the cash requirements.
I don't think people realize the type of inflation we're talking about.
Hyperinflation.
Finish up real fast, running through a few more of your points, and let's take some calls.
Another thing that we need to do is we need to eliminate short selling. And short selling is...
And naked short selling.
Yeah. Short selling is, let's say that I borrow your car and sell it. And then later on, I buy it back at a lower price. Well, naked short selling is I can take your car and sell it without you knowing about it, without borrowing it. And then if anyone defaults, I said, that's too bad.
In fact, you never even had the car.
That's right.
You just sold thin air to somebody.
That's right. And also, currency speculation has caused the economies of many nations to be crashed. George Soros is a major actor in this. And
then he goes on TV and talks about how he's the savior trying to fix this.
Right. But this is based on selling something you don't have. That's what a shorting is. And so we need to outlaw shorting completely by saying that you cannot sell anything that you don't have legal documented right to. And, of course, the Wall Street would not want that because that's where they make all their money.
And let's be clear that they then just made-up derivatives, paper, credit default swaps, and insurance certifications, used the money off that, leveraged it 10 times, then went out and engaged in all these different manipulations of the stock market. This is just a complete group of con artist frauds.
That's right. And the only way you can overcome that is completely nationalize the Federal Reserve and nationalize all federal banks.
But here's the problem. The globalists are going to stage wars, stage nuke attacks, release bioweapons. They're going to try to use Northcom to block Gaylon Ross and Ron Paul and others from doing this. So do you educate the public about false flag terror?
That's right. You have to, first of all, you got to do it with education.
Yeah, because they're not going to just let us go do this. I mean, clearly we're marching. People are waking up. We have a chance to do this, to dream as destiny. But I'm saying they're not going to just sit back and let us do this. So what's your idea there?
Well, that's one of the reasons for this book, is try to educate the people of what's really going on behind the scenes. And once everybody understands what's going on, then instead of 1 million people marching on Washington, there might be 5 million.
I agree with you. If the average cop who's being given a microwave gun to attack peaceful protesters realizes his future is being destroyed too, then there's a good chance that he's not going to go along with it.
That's right. And if the law enforcement people have a copy of this book or similar information, then you're right. When they say, all right, let's go march on those people, well, then they say, no, I don't think that's right. We're not going to do that. And then the officers might rebel. So but it has to all be based on education.
Well, I mean, you're an engineer who worked with oil and things. I mean, they admit that sodium fluoride in the water brain damages people. They admit the Germans put it in people's water. The Soviets did. I mean, when we tell cops don't drink the water, I mean, this is an evil elite.
That's right.
Tell folks what sodium fluoride does to your brain.
Sodium fluoride is a chemical that the Russians and the South Africans and the Israelis use to make their people docile. And it's in toothpaste, it's in water. And
by the way, on record, they admit they do this. I mean, this is not our opinion.
That's right. And and if you read the label on a toothpaste box, it says if you swallow more than a little bit of this, immediately go to the poison control center, because it's a known poison.
But I mean, I just bring that up of they're poisoning our water. Well, why are we even here debating this with each other?
That's right.
I mean, I'm asking FBI agents and others, did you get a memo telling you not to drink the water? No. You're in the same boat with us. And that's why I've realized not to just get mad and attack them. Whether you know it or not, we're in the same boat together.
That's right.
This is ridiculous. And just because they taught you to laugh at it and say it's a conspiracy theory, you can't do that. Let's take some calls. Okay. Dan in the Philippines. You're on the air with Robert Gaylon Ross.
Hello.
Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, wow. It's crazy to be on here. I've been only recently listening to the show, but
welcome, Dan. It's good to have you here with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy. 10 plus years ago, I listened to you on the show, and I thought it was crazy. Seeing my brother watching on public access station. I'm from Austin, but I've been living in Manila for almost 4 years now, and I thought it was crazy. And so the last year plus, anyways, going on.
What woke you up?
Actually, it was partly my mom. I was watching Ron Paul back in the primary days. Had a vacation. I went back to the States and saw a video about Ron Paul. Then I saw Freedom of Fascism of Aaron Russo. Woke me up really well. And since then, I've just been kind of dabbling, and now I'm really going full at it right now. I left my company recently, and so as part
but see, right there is an example. People wouldn't listen to us 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now they listen because everything we talked about is now coming true. Sir, what's your question for Robert Gaylon Ross?
Sadly, I don't have a question for him directly.
Well, that's fine. You're on air. Go ahead and make your point.
Okay. I don't have a point. I have a question. I saw a recent video about bracelets with microchips on them that are supposedly attached to your wrist, and I just have a question about this because it seems recent, and I haven't really been keeping up. But is this something? Can you describe this more to me about the bracelets on the wrist?
In fact, we'll play that. Guys, just YouTube the term taser bracelets. Homeland Security was proposing, and they and Homeland Security Board said, we think it's a good idea for every American, 5-year-old child, 80-year-old woman, 50-year-old black guy, 20-year-old white guy, everybody, to wear a taser bracelet, just like the Running Man, almost around our neck, but around your wrist, guilty until proven innocent. They've got the naked body scanners going in airports. Houston has them. You march your kids through, the government records their body on tape. Robert Gaylon Ross, your comment on the taser bracelets.